Hello guys, and welcome back to the Breaking Butterfly podcast, or if you're new here, a very special welcome. I am so grateful to have you here joining us on this episode. If you're new here, this is a podcast all about confidence, confidence in yourself, confidence in your abilities, confidence in your relationships, and making money, in the creation of your life, aka manifestation. And like I said, so grateful to have you here. If you're watching on YouTube today, which you guys should start doing so because I'm going to be doing most of my podcasts with video as well and doing it in my new little, what would you call this? My little studio. So if you're watching on YouTube, you might notice that my surroundings look a little bit different. I'm not just sitting at my desk, and I cannot tell you guys how fucking happy I am because I have had this vision in my mind for a really long time. I'm sitting on like this pink velvet couch, and I have a cow print stool next to me with like plants and a fuzzy mirror and artists that I love, and I literally have been picturing like this and doing this for the podcast for so long, and I like don't even know how to express how good it feels when you want to create something, you want your life to look a certain way, and then when you collapse the timeline and you bring it into this reality, it up levels your energy like crazy. Like if you picture your business or your life a certain way, and then you make a shift, you make a move, you make a change to actually make that your reality, like I'm now living in that future timeline. But I want to tell the story of all of this, okay? Because I did not always have this vision. So when I first started my business, I started the podcast. Like I wasn't planning on ever doing like video or anything like that. But then I kind of was. I like tried doing some videos, but they were like really shitty. And then I was just like, no, fuck the videos. But I was a part of this group coaching program, and we did a meditation one time, like in the coaching call, and we were like visualizing what we want our businesses to look like or something like that. We're doing some type of like visualization, which I don't always do visualizations like a lot because I'm not a very visual person, but this specific time, like being in a group and being with everyone, I really got into this visualization, and I had this fucking vision. I saw me doing the Breaking Butterfly podcast on like these big pink couches with like a big pink like neon sign above the couches that said like Breaking Butterfly with like fluffy pillows, and it was like so clear. I saw like my headquarters and my podcast like expanding into like a show, like a big show where I have like guests come on and I have these big 2 microphones, and it just was so clear in my mind. And after that visualization, I was like, I didn't even know that I wanted this. I had no idea. Like sometimes it's just, I get so like just in the present that, I mean, I think about the future too, but I get so like in the present that sometimes I don't really like dream bigger. I'm just like doing what's in front of me. So I don't really like come up with these like big visions of where I'm heading. I'm just like in the present doing my thing, doing what feels good. But once I had this vision, it stuck with me, you guys. Like it stuck with me, but I had this like thought and perspective that like that wouldn't be a real reality for a really long time. Like I would need like a big huge office and like a headquarters, and I would need like a fuck ton of money to make it all happen. And I kind of just like set out to believe that like that was for a couple years down the road. Not even a couple, like it was in my head that that was gonna be like 5 or 6 8 years down the road, right? Like I couldn't have that now. I couldn't have that like anytime soon. No. I've been talking about this a lot lately, like collapsing timelines, which this is nothing about what today's episode is about. I just really need to talk about this because it's my first time like filming in my new setup. What was I even saying? Oh, collapsing timelines. Like I've been talking about collapsing timelines a lot lately because it really is one of the most powerful ways I manifest. Like when I think of a vision and I finally say, no, I'm not holding off until the future. Like I'm not waiting for that. I'm going to bring it into my reality now. That is when magic happens, because now I'm showing up in a completely different light, a completely different energy. Like I am, because I'm in like a future timeline. Of course, this isn't like exactly what I pictured. I'll probably keep expanding and getting bougier and bigger and just getting better and better and better. But I was like, why am I waiting to bring this vision alive? Like, why am I not doing that now? And I had this hit of inspiration, and I ordered the couch and I sold my dresser and I moved everything around. This happened within like 3 days of me just deciding like, fuck it, I am collapsing this timeline. And here I am. And it like brought this whole new inspiration back to me, and like this whole like up-leveled feeling of just being in this space. So this is your sign. If you know, are desiring things and wanting things, like make it come to life now, at least as much as you possibly can. You know, I was talking about like collapsing timelines on TikTok, and people were like, oh yeah, like collapse timelines with my imaginary money. And I'm like, no, you don't necessarily need money to do it. I mean, this one was a little bit of a pricier upgrade, but you don't need a lot of money to start collapsing timelines. Like, you can start decorating your home with like things you find at Goodwill, or you can go thrifting for clothes, or I was gonna sneeze. Sorry, excuse me. I was gonna sneeze. You can go thrifting, you can go to Goodwill, like you can make things work. You can find stuff on like Facebook Marketplace. You can start like decorating your life and living your life and being in your life as if you were in a future timeline. And you can collapse those timelines, and it doesn't have to take like a lot of money. You can take little itty bitty steps. Like, I used to just buy, like, to decorate my home how I wanted to in the future, I would just buy like a pillow here and there when I'd like go to Ross. You know, it doesn't have to be this whole big ordeal, but like, this is your sign to collapse timelines. Start thinking about, what do I actually want and how can I create that in the present moment, right? How can I create it in the present moment? And I did get the Breaking Butterfly pink neon sign as well, but it's going to take like a month for them to create it since it's custom. But I think I'm actually going to put it on my other wall just to balance it out, because it kind of makes sense and I kind of like this vibe. I don't know. You guys will have to help me out on that one. I don't know what I want to do. We're still, this side of my room looks really, really cute right now, but then the other side of my room is like kind of a disaster, but it's fine. We're working it out. So, yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, hi, I'm in a new space. If you're not watching on YouTube, you totally can if you want, and I feel like it's looking pretty cute in here. So I'm really excited to make more videos for you guys and just create more from this little space that I created. So I have one other thing to talk about before I dive into today's episode, which I'm really excited to announce this episode, because it's the start of something really fun. But first, I have to share something new that I'm doing. So me and my assistant, we just set up, sorry, I was looking for the phone number on my phone. We just set up my own phone number for Breaking Butterfly, for a Breaking Butterfly hotline, so that you guys can call in and ask me questions and leave me messages and ask me for advice or whatever. And then I can play your guys' voicemails on the podcast and answer your questions. I'm so excited about this. Like, I've told you guys before, I've always wanted Breaking Butterfly to be almost like, have like Q&A, like advice column type episodes. Like, I still love just doing like solo episodes or interviews or whatever. Which, by the way, I thought way more of you would want me to do more interviews, but when I did the poll on my Instagram stories, pretty much every single person answered that they just want more solo podcasts, which I thought was funny, and I'm fine with, because I love talking. But I love doing just like solo podcast episodes, but I've always wanted to like, I love giving advice and answering questions, and yeah, I'm really excited about this. I really, really, really want you guys to like do this with me. Ask me questions, ask me for advice, like anything, and I'm going to take select voicemails and feature them, answer all of your questions. And I just think this is going to be really fucking fun, because it's going to be like we're talking together almost. Like, you're leaving me a message and then I'm like talking to you on the air on the podcast. I just think it's going to be so fun. So the phone number is in my bio and the Breaking Butterfly bio. It's 714-922-0876. Oh, also, we're going to leave it in the show notes. I don't know why I'm telling you to go to my Instagrams for the bio. I'm going to leave the phone number in the show notes, but if you ever need it, you can also go to the contact buttons on the Breaking Butterfly Instagram or my personal Instagram, and then it goes straight to voicemail, and you can just leave a voicemail. You can also send me texts on there. I'm like more kind of feeling into the voicemail vibe, but if you guys ever want to like ask me questions, you have questions, you can totally text me on that number too. I don't know why you would. You can just DM me on Instagram, but I just think it's kind of fun that Breaking Butterfly has a phone number. So, whew, I'm really excited about that, and this starts now. It's already up and running, so go ask your questions, ask me for advice, ask me anything, leave any message that you want to, and I'm so excited to hear all of your guys' messages. Okay, those were my two little announcements or things that I want to mention before I get into today's episode. And today's episode is actually the start of something really fun. I decided I'm going to do a series because so I asked a poll on Instagram, right? I asked you guys a bunch of things just to make sure that I'm like aligned with what you guys want from me, what you want to hear from me, and all of that. Because like I have a lot of ideas and I do have a lot of inspiration, but sometimes it's like too much where I'm like, oh, I don't know what direction to go. And like I do know what direction to go, but I'd rather be in direction with you guys. Like I'd rather like make sure that I'm aligned with what you guys are wanting. So I asked you guys a bunch of polls, and so many people answered this one question. Like everything else, I got like 60 answers per answer or whatever. And I did these little like question polls, but on this one, so many people answered it, and the one that was answered the most got 99 like choices. And it was the topic of becoming your highest self. All right, that was like the little thing that I put in the question. Was one of them was become your highest self, and 99 people pressed that was the one that they would want to hear more about. I was like, interesting. It's mostly interesting because it's such a broad topic, and really, I mean, everything that I share is helping direct you to your highest self, but like it was just so interesting how many people answered that. And so of course I'm like, absolutely, I have 100 things that I can share on this. I'm feeling so inspired. I'm like, okay, why don't I do like becoming your highest self episode? Then I started thinking about it, and I was like, where do I even start? Because there's so many aspects of this. Like becoming your highest self, all personal development is helping you become your highest self. Pretty much, right? I'm like, damn, Maddie, that wasn't like a very good answer to put on like the question poll, because I mean, everything's helping you become your highest self, but there's so many aspects of it. But I have a couple inspired things that I kind of feel like fit under the umbrella of becoming your highest self. So I want to do a couple episodes on this and have a series of becoming your highest self and talk about just in different ways of our life, like, can we become our highest selves? So today's episode is about becoming your highest self, and the concept comes from something I learned from Jay Shetty's book. What is it? Think Like a Monk, right? He said something in his book that really stuck with me, and I've been wanting to record this episode for like a while now, but it just hasn't really, I don't know, it didn't like land, like it didn't come through. And then when I started thinking to myself, like, how can people become their highest selves? This is like the first thing that came to me, and I was like, oh my god, this is why I haven't recorded a podcast on this yet, because this is the absolute most perfect time to talk about this. So, okay, if you've read this book, you're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. I think it's like the first thing he talks about, but this is such an important concept. So becoming our highest selves, it's gonna be different for everybody, because there's all different reasons why we're not our highest selves, right? But I think there's some basic foundational things that we should be doing that maybe we're not doing to get us closer and closer to this highest self. And the first one that I want to talk about is aligning to your values. Aligning to your values. I almost don't want to talk about this because it's like a little triggering to me. Not like it's not triggering, no. What's the word I'm looking for? Like I'm being called out. This is a hard conversation because I know it's something that I'm not doing all the time necessarily, and it's gonna be hard to do. And so I'm like, well, if I talk about it, I have this thing where like I won't share something with you guys or I won't talk about it unless like I'm doing it myself or I want to be doing it myself, because I'm never gonna be a hypocrite and tell you guys to do something when like I'm not doing it or I'm not working on it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm like, I don't want to talk about this because that means like I have to start doing it. But like, guys, we have to start doing this because it, like, we need to be our highest selves. Aligning to our values. So what does this mean? Pretty much the question here we're asking ourselves is, how much of my life is actually in tune or like supporting what I value in life and what's important to me? So for example, if I like really value my family, how much of my life is actually showing support of that statement? If I value my freedom, how much of my life is actually supporting that statement? Like how much of my life is actually aligned with that? Do I actually show that I value that? If I value my authenticity, am I aligned with that? If I value hard work, if I value like money, if I value quality time with the people I love, like am I actually doing that? Like this one for me is like, you know, one of the first things I want to say that I value is like my friends and my family. Because I do, like they're everything to me. But then I like look into my daily life and I'm like, how much of my time do I spend putting my energy into my friends and my family? I do give them energy, of course, especially when I'm with them, but I don't live near a lot of my friends and family. Most of them are like in Utah or in just like other places in the country. And I'm like, do I like take time out of my day and just like text them and like FaceTime them? Do I like check in with my family every single week at least? When I'm with my family, am I like super present? Or am I just like on my phone? Like, are my values actually aligned? Or yeah, like are my values actually aligned with the amount of energy that I give them, right? If something's a number one value to me, that should be one of the things that I give like number one priority of my energy. But we're giving our energy to social media or TikTok or like watching Netflix, and we're giving our energy to so many different things. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is like we need to get a hold of our energy, because it's so easy to say that things are important to us, but it's just mind-blowing. Like when I was reading about this in the book, and it was just like such a simple concept of like aligning to your values, but like when I was reading it, it was just blowing my mind at like how overlooked this is, or like how much I don't like think about this and realize this. And when we're talking about becoming our highest selves, right? Becoming our highest selves really takes a lot of like conscious energy, like conscious living, conscious creating, right? If we want to be our highest selves, because really most of the time, I think it's like 90% of the time, we are unconscious living our lives. Like we are just living from our subconscious, and usually our subconscious is like just a bunch of shit from like our childhood or trauma or just stuff that maybe we don't want to be living out of, right? The subconscious is like the unseen. We don't know what's underneath there. I mean, we do based on our lives, obviously, right? Like if you have no money, you can kind of assume what's in your subconscious, what beliefs are in your subconscious. Or if you have bad relationships, you always get treated badly, you can kind of assume like what's in your subconscious. But for the most part, we don't really know what our subconscious is like believing and thinking, yet we're living out of our subconscious. I swear, I think it's 90 or 95% of the time we are living out of our subconscious, and we are just living like completely unconsciously, just going about our lives, doing the everyday mundane shit, whatever. And then we try to change, we try to become our highest selves, and it's so difficult for us to, because we're almost like living like zombies a little bit, just doing like the same cycles, the same patterns, the same things over and over. So for us to become our highest selves, we need to start actually truly like consciously living and being intentional with the way that we are living and what we are doing. And that's really what a lot of this series is going to be about, right? Is like how to consciously create so that we become our highest selves in the present moment. Because that's another thing too. We'll talk about this more in future episodes of the series, but you don't become your highest self in the future. You become your highest self in the present moment by creating that and by acting out of that person, because our highest self isn't somebody who's outside of us. Our highest self is within us. There's like this one artist, and he says something, what does he say? It's like a famous quote, and you guys know me, I think of quotes like on the spot, but then I don't really know them, and so I just butcher them. But he's talking about how like the sculptures that he creates, the sculpture is already inside of the marble or whatever. The sculpture is already within that. He's just like chipping away the excess so that he can find the sculpture within. And I always thought that was really interesting. Like the sculpture, the beautiful masterpiece, the art, the sculpture is already within the marble, within ourselves. But we're like looking outside of ourselves for it, like, where is my highest self? Like, how do I become my highest self in the future? Instead of just realizing it's within us, and we can choose to become that person and live as that person at any given time. Yes, there are still some things that we can do to like create outside of us to bring us into that energy, but like our highest self is already within us. And I mean, I think the main way we find it is just by realizing when we're just acting out of our subconscious, when we're being unconscious, and choosing to be conscious and intentional with what we are giving our energy to. So like I said, it's very easy to say that things are important to us or that we value things, but like how often are we really living that? Like the one big one I'm thinking about for me, and why I said like this is like a little triggering to me, and where I'm like, ugh, this is like such a hard conversation because I know I'm not living this and it's kind of hard for me, is like, number one, so one of my values, so I shared the thing about like my friends and family, right? Of like noticing how much energy am I giving to them on a daily basis. You know, I talk to my clients every day, all day, but how often do I take the time to really like call each of my family members? So that's a big one for me. But the other one I've been thinking about is like my own spiritual practice. So I say that my spirituality is so important to me. And it is. I am a very spiritual person, even without doing like any spiritual practices, just in the way that I live and the way that I am, the way that I think, and just who I am in general. I live very like on spiritual terms and have like a relationship with the universe, which I guess is what it's really all about. But there's things that I should be doing. If my spirituality is a priority to me and it's important to me, then like, why am I not meditating every day? Why do I not get on my yoga mat every day? Why do I not journal every day? Okay, some days maybe I just like don't need it, or I'm busy or whatever. But right now in my life, like if you're just curious, like a little inside scoop into my life, I just feel like I'm kind of going through the motions of like working. Like I just work on my business all day and do things for my business. And my business is one of my values too, so there I'm really aligned. Like if we're talking about my business being a value and my business being important to me, definitely aligned in that way. But if we were to look at my life right now, it would be, that's taking up most of the pie, right? That's taking up most of the pie. Actually, maybe this is a good practice to do. I was thinking about like what baby step I could give you guys, but like, write down all of your values and then like go throughout your day and record how much energy or time, like in like hours, do you actually spend on the specific value, and put it in like a little pie chart and like see what's taking up the most of your pie. Because my pie would be like filled with my business, which I don't have much of a problem with that. It's important to me. But I think about the other things that I value. So an example, going back to talking about like my spiritual practice, like how much of the pie is that taking up? How much energy am I giving that to? And if that's something I really value and like I feel that my highest self values, why am I not consciously making that a reality? Well, it's because I'm living unconsciously most of the time. I know why. But like I sit here and I'm recording this and I'm like, why am I not spending more time and energy on that? You know, other examples is like your health, for example. Like we say that we want to be healthy, but then are your actions actually aligning with that in your life? You say that you value being outdoors, you value nature and Mother Earth. It's like, how often do you make it a priority to go sit in nature or go on a hike or go to the beach or whatever it is? How often, like how much is your energy aligning with that? And a lot of times it's not. And I hope this episode, like recording this for myself, is a wake-up call, and I hope for you guys is kind of like a wake-up call for you to just like sit down and think about what's important to you, and then just be a conscious creator. Consciously choose what you are giving your energy to. Because think about it, when we start aligning more and more to what's important to us and what we value, right? We get out of this unconscious state, this zombie state, and we start aligning with our values and what's important to us. To me, I'm thinking that's getting us pretty damn close to our absolute highest self. If I took everything I valued and everything that I found important in this life, and I made sure that the way I was spending my energy lined up perfectly with that, yeah, I think that that's how you become your highest self, amongst a lot of other things. Hence why this is going to be a series and not just one episode. But that's going to get us pretty damn close, I think. You know, even thinking about, like, what does life mean to you? Not even thinking about, like, specific values, but just in general. Like, why are you living? Like, what do you feel is your kind of like your purpose here? Not necessarily your purpose in like career terms, like your dharma, but like what is your purpose just on this earth? Like, are you here to have fun? Okay, this is a big one, to have fun. For me, in my personal opinion of like why I'm here on this earth, I feel like I'm here to just experience the human experience and be a part of like the evolution of the world. But I also, like, a big part of me just really feels like I'm here to play and have fun, and I kind of view the world as like this playground where like I'm trying to create my life so that I can play and I can just explore and have fun and travel and do whatever the fuck I want and have pleasure, and days where it's just like, oh my god, I'm living, I'm having so much fun. And then I look at my life and I'm like, how often do I make time for those things? Like, how often I'm trying to create this life where I can just like paint and sit on the beach and lay in the sun and eat yummy food and go on a hike and go to the river and fly to Tulum and go to Grass Valley and like have little like parties on the beaches. And I'm like, I'm not making those things a priority. I'm sitting here just working on my business. Our highest self is not going to appear when we get into a different part of our life. We become our highest self by being who we want to be in the present moment. And we do that by noticing where our energy goes. And there, you don't need to wait. You don't need to wait. So back to that question of like, in general, what does life mean to you? Like, if you looked back at your life and you're like, oh, my life was so blank, what would you say? Oh, my life was so meaningful. Oh, my life was so fun. Oh, my life was filled with so much joy. My life was filled with so much art. My life was filled with my family. My life was Like my life was amazing because I made such a difference in the world. I made an impact. Like, what would be your fill in the blank? And then how much is your energy aligning to that? You know, like I spend hours on TikTok. What does that say about my values? What am I valuing when I'm doing that? It depends on the day. Some days it's like for entertainment and connection and a laugh, or sometimes I'm creating on there, so it's to share my message. But sometimes I'm just like scrolling on TikTok just to like numb out. And what is that saying about, like, when I'm giving my energy to that? What is that saying about like how I view this life and how I view myself? You know, like that I don't like living and I like just numbing out and not experiencing all the beautiful things that this life has to offer that I could be prioritizing. Like I could be out there just like romanticizing my life and like creating these amazing experiences for myself and meditating and being on my mat and meeting new friends or traveling. But I'm just sitting there on TikTok. I don't think it's a bad thing, right? I think it's just a part of our new age and like society too. Not saying that it's okay, but I like give myself a little bit of grace because it's just kind of like the world that we live in a little bit. I know that's bad to say, but it's like, you know, we're all a little addicted to social media, and I give myself compassion. But I just think that I could be a little more conscious about who I'm giving my energy to, what I'm giving my energy to. And I'll probably do a whole nother episode in this series. I don't know how many I'm gonna do, but I'll probably like do a whole episode about like giving our energy to people even. Well, we can just talk about that now. I don't think I need to do a whole episode on that. Like, think about what you value in life, who you value, like the energy you like being around, and then who you're giving your energy to. Like, do you constantly think about somebody who used to bully you, or do you constantly like make fun of other people, or do you constantly like hold like grudges and hold on to like different things that people say to you? If our friends and our family and these beautiful people in our lives are the most important to us, then why are we giving our energy to them? Like, are you, most of your day, again, pie chart, right? Most of your day, are you thinking about your friends and family and like how much you love them and nice things you could do for them? Or are you thinking about that person that did you wrong, or that person at the grocery store that was rude, or that person in traffic that cut you off? Like, what, like, who are we actually giving our energy to? It's time for us, if we want to become our highest selves and really step into that role, I think it's about taking care of our energy, being super, super deliberate, intentional, and like conscious about who and what we're giving our energy to and when and for how long. So, my baby steps for you guys this week. I wrote them down, but my phone died. My baby steps is write down your values. Make a little pie chart, right? Of like, write down all of your values in order, like priority, like which ones are most important to you. And then, like, measure on a day-to-day how much time and energy you spend on each. Make a pie chart and just look at it. Just see how it aligns, right? And then the other baby step that I was thinking about and wrote down was like, I was thinking about like, how do we actually stay conscious on a day-to-day, like, and be conscious in our lives? And I'm thinking, like, honestly, it's just the awareness and the practice. But what if we journaled every single morning and wrote down or answered the question, what's important to me? What's important to me? And how can I align with that in my present moment? Just those two questions. What's important to me? How can I align with this? And then just live our life from that place, right? I think that is going to help us a lot in becoming our highest selves. So, I hope you guys love that content and it's just soaking in for you, and I hope you continue to think about this content so we can all become more and more of conscious creators together. And this is my first episode in a little series of becoming your highest self, and just some different topics and things that I really think will put us in the role of standing in our true highest selves. So I hope you guys love this episode. Remember to call me and leave a voicemail if you guys have questions or advice. I'm really excited about this, so please, please, please call the number. You can find it in the show notes. But I hope you guys love this, and if you did, feel free to share it with somebody. Share it on your story, leave a rating and review. I would absolutely love it. And I hope you guys have the most beautiful week, and I will catch you guys in my next episode. Bye!